Welcome to the Diary of an Apartment Investor podcast. I'm your host, Brian Briscoe, and this is another multifamily brief episode. Today is January 24th, 2023. Got to be careful with that last digit. I haven't said it very much, but this episode will be released on the 25th on Wednesday, like we always do. So one thing I want to talk about today is I just got a text from somebody, actually a Facebook message, and I don't go on Facebook very often. So if you message me on Facebook, it's going to take me probably a couple weeks to even notice it. So that said, got this message. It came in about a week ago and I just saw it, but it says, I've been calling brokers, lawyers, accountants, contractors, and messaging everybody I know from, and they put the group they're in, but it feels like a total waste of time. All right. Has anybody ever felt like that? I think I have in a lot of ways, especially in the multifamily business. You get out there and you start doing the things that you think are right, the things you think you're supposed to do, and you don't get people calling you back. The attorneys aren't calling you back. The accountants aren't calling you back. The contractors aren't calling you back. It's like, man, what do I need to do to get these people to pay me any attention at all? Now, here's the deal. I felt like that once as well. Everybody, when they start out, they're doing the same thing. It's like, okay, I want to be a multifamily syndicator. Well, I have to have a deal first. And they pick up the phone and they start calling brokers. I did the same thing. And my first couple of broker calls were probably abysmal. If I could hear myself on those calls right now, I'd probably be embarrassed at what I heard, because I probably started out something like, hey, my name is Brian and I'm brand new to multifamily. I want to get my first property soon. Can you help me? And you'd think that a broker would just fall out of his chair trying to help you on that, right? But no, it's not. So really, one thing I would like to point out when you are calling a broker, you're calling an attorney, you're calling an accountant, or any one of these people is what's in it for them? How can you craft your message so it actually helps them? What is a broker looking for? I think humans are inherently lazy. Brokers, they find a person wanting to sell a property and they look for somebody who is capable of buying a property. They put the two together and they get paid for effecting the transaction. Okay. So when you are a brand new buyer calling a broker and you start out like I did on my first couple of calls, hey, my name is Brian. I'm active duty in the Marine Corps and I want to retire soon. And so I want to buy apartments. I thought that was a great story. I thought they'd respect me because I was a active duty Marine and whatnot. But here's the reality. What part about that tells them that I am capable of buying an apartment complex? Hey, I'm brand new to the business. Well, hey, congratulations. I'm not going to call you back, says the broker, because I'm looking for somebody who can buy right now. I don't want a project. I want somebody who can buy right now. I want a qualified buyer to call me and tell me that they're looking for apartments. Okay. Now put yourself in the seat of the lawyer or the accountant or the contractor as well. Attorneys are busy. They are. And your syndication attorneys, if they're good syndication attorneys and they've been in business for a while, they probably have several closings this week. And if you call them up and you're asking for their time, you're going to get the same response, or no response at all, because they're looking at their paying clients. They have people who are paying them to do a job and they're going to get the prime time. So Mr. Syndication Attorney or Mrs. Syndication Attorney who's doing closings and everything else, that's where their time's going to go. They're going to make sure the closing goes on time. They're going to make sure when they're doing the contracting negotiation and redlining documents and doing all that to their paying clients, that's where they're going first, right? So getting a lot of these people to pick up the phone when you're a tire kicker, I hate to use the word, but when you're really just a tire kicker is difficult, because they're going to view you as a tire kicker. And contractors as well. What are they looking for? Contractors are looking for jobs. And if you don't have a job for them, you know what? Are they going to waste their time on you? And that's how they're going to look at it. Hey, I'm going to buy a multifamily property sometime in the next 4 or 6 months. Will you spend 30 minutes on the phone talking with me to help me learn the business, or help me figure out what renovation expenses are going to be? Or can you help me underwrite this property that I may or may not close on? And the reality is the contractor's probably thinking, hey, I've got a job lined up next week. I got a job lined up week after. I've got to worry about lining up a job in 3 weeks and in 4 weeks and in 5 weeks, and spending time with somebody talking about this hypothetical thing that they're underwriting right now. And even if they get it under contract, they're not going to close for another 3 or 4 months. Now, are you going to get their time? That's really the question. So if calling people like this feels like a waste of time to you, do what you can do to make sure it's not a waste of time for them. There's a lot of things you can do. When you're talking about brokers, you might want to do a little bit of networking before you start calling brokers. Make sure you have potential partners behind you before you start calling the brokers. And make sure you can answer the questions that they're going to ask you. So when you're calling a broker, you want them to understand that you are a viable client to them, or they're not going to talk with you. All right. So do a little bit of homework first. Make sure you've set yourself up for success. Know what the brokers want. They want a viable buyer. To be a viable buyer, you have to be capable of bringing the purchase price to the table. All right. So if you're looking at a $5 million property, you either need to have $5 million in your back pocket, or you need to be able to get a $4 million loan and bring $1 million in equity to the table. So know what it takes to get that $4 million loan. That means you have to have somebody on your team with a $4 million net worth, or people on your team with a combined net worth of $4 million. All right. That's what it takes to get the loan, to get the property, and to be able to become a viable buyer. Have somebody on your team who can raise $1 million. Have 2 people on your team that can raise $500,000. All right. That's what it's going to take to become a viable buyer. And if you rephrase this conversation with the brokers and you call them up and say, I've got a team assembled. We have the net worth. We have the experience to be able to qualify for any loan up to X amount. We've got the ability to raise $2 million in equity. I want you to show me every deal you have between $6 and $8 million in this certain region. Reframe the conversation. You're coming to them as a viable buyer. And with the attorneys, same thing. It's a good idea to talk with them up front and get an idea of what they do. But at the same time, you don't want to waste their time. So, maybe you start calling them like, hey, I'm putting a letter of intent in on a property next week. Start the conversation where now you're a viable client. If you're putting a letter of intent in, the lawyer's like, okay, this letter of intent's probably going to may turn into a contract negotiation. Yeah, I'll talk with you. Okay. Same thing for the contractors as well. When you get to the point to where you're ready to start due diligence, or you have that letter of intent out, or you have a signed letter of intent, now you can start calling the contractors and make an offer that's more appealing to them. Like, I got a property under contract. I'd like you to come out to the property with me to help us do due diligence. And number one, I'm going to pay you for your time. And number two, you're going to be the first person in line to actually do the work we're going to have you do. Once again, a much better sell for a potential contractor to talk with you. Anyway, that's it for today. Hope it helped you out. And if you're interested in learning more, definitely reach out to me. You can find me. The Tribe of Titans is a great place to come. If you want my time, same thing. Come to the Tribe of Titans. Join our Tribe of Titans. Get in our Tribe of Titans. And if you have a question, just drop it in the chat in there. And guess what? I'm going to answer it. Okay. So link to the Tribe of Titans is always in the show notes. Check it out. If you're not in the Tribe of Titans yet, join the Tribe of Titans. Podcast listeners, well, pretty much everybody right now gets 30 days free. I'm going to change that soon, but check it out and we'll see you in the tribe. Hey, if you like that episode, make sure you hit that subscribe button. But more importantly, if you haven't joined our multifamily educational community, the Tribe of Titans yet, you are missing out. So get yourself 30 days free by clicking the link below in the description, or go to thetribeoftitans.info, and we'll see you there.